In the heart of Igbo land, with cultural values, lay the prosperous kingdom of Okada. The kingdom was a tapestry of natural beauty, with its rolling landscapes of fertile soil and bountiful resources. The people of Okada were known far and wide for their vibrant culture, wisdom, and hospitality. They lived in harmony with their surroundings, practicing sustainable farming and engaging in trade that brought exotic goods from distant lands. The kingdom's prosperity was not merely the result of good governance and diligent labor, it was also attributed to a mysterious artifact, a staff passed down through generations of kings. This staff, intricately carved from ancient Iroko wood and adorned with symbols of the gods, was said to be a divine gift. It held the power to bless the land with fertility, ensure the well-being of its people, and maintain the balance between the spiritual and physical realms. On the day of his inauguration, King Eze Nwosu received the staff from the village elders in a grand ceremony. The villagers gathered in the central square, their faces beaming with pride and hope. Drummers played rhythms that echoed through the hills, and dancers moved gracefully, invoking the spirits of their ancestors. The chief elder, Ozo, a man revered for his wisdom and knowledge of ancient traditions, presented the staff to the new king. Eze Nwosu, Ozo intoned, his voice resonating with authority, "This staff is a sacred trust bestowed upon you by the gods. It carries the blessings of our ancestors and the hopes of our people. Guard it with your life and use its power wisely, for as long as this staff remains in the hands of a true and just king, Okada will flourish." The staff glowed faintly as it was handed to King Nwosu, a sign of its divine power. He accepted it with a deep sense of responsibility, pledging to rule with fairness and integrity. Under his reign, the kingdom of Okada experienced an era of unprecedented prosperity. Harvests were plentiful, the rivers teemed with fish, and the markets were vibrant with trade. The people lived in peace, bound by a common sense of purpose and pride in their heritage. Despite the kingdom's prosperity, King Nwosu's personal life was marred by sorrow and discord. His first wife, Queen Ijeoma, had borne him a son named Ona. Ijeoma, though a wise and kind woman, had a strained relationship with the king. Their union, arranged for political reasons, lacked genuine affection, and the couple often found themselves at odds. Nevertheless, they both loved their son deeply, though their different ways of expressing it led to misunderstandings. When Ijeoma died suddenly from a mysterious illness, the palace was engulfed in grief. Young Ona, just a boy at the time, was devastated by the loss of his mother. King Nwosu, overwhelmed by a mixture of sorrow and guilt, struggled to connect with his son. Instead of drawing closer, the two drifted apart, each consumed by their own pain. In the years that followed, King Nwosu remarried. His new wife, Queen Adanna, was a strikingly beautiful and ambitious woman from a prominent family. She quickly became a powerful presence in the palace, known for her sharp intellect and strong will. However, her arrival marked a turning point in Ona's life. Adanna, seeing Ona as a threat to her own future children's inheritance, began to manipulate the king, sowing seeds of discord between father and son. Ona, once a lively and curious child, became withdrawn and quiet. He was often left to fend for himself, while his half-siblings enjoyed the privileges of royalty. Adanna's subtle but relentless mistreatment made life unbearable for the young prince. He found solace in the company of a few loyal servants and in the quiet corners of the palace gardens, where he would sit for hours, lost in thought. As Ona grew older, the mistreatment became more overt. He was given the most menial tasks, and any achievements he made were either ignored or downplayed by Adanna and her allies. The young prince's spirit, however, remained unbroken. He found comfort in the wisdom of the village elders, who recognized his potential and secretly mentored him. One of his closest confidants was an elderly blacksmith named Chima. Chima had known Ona's mother and had always treated the young prince with kindness and respect. In the evenings, Ona would visit Chima's forge, where he learned the art of metalwork and listened to stories of Okada's history and the great deeds of its ancestors. Ona, Chima would say, "You are destined for greatness. The gods have a plan for you, and no amount of cruelty can change that. Remember that true strength lies not in physical power, but in the purity of your heart and the wisdom of your actions." These words gave Ona hope, but the constant mistreatment from his stepmother and the indifference of his father wore him down. He often found himself questioning his place in the world and the purpose of his existence. One night, after a particularly harsh reprimand from Adanna, Ona made a decision that would change the course of his life and the fate of Okada. Unable to bear the mistreatment any longer, Ona decided to leave the palace. He packed a small bundle of belongings, including a pendant that had belonged to his mother, and set off into the night. He moved quietly through the palace corridors, avoiding the guards and slipping past the gates unnoticed. As he made his way through the village, he felt a pang of guilt for leaving his people behind. He knew that his departure would bring sorrow to those who cared for him, but he was determined to find a place where he could live in peace and rediscover his sense of self-worth. Ona journeyed through the dense forest and across wide rivers, guided by the stars and the wisdom imparted to him by the elders. He eventually arrived in a distant village, far from Okada. The villagers, unaware of his royal lineage, welcomed him with open arms. He introduced himself simply as a traveler seeking refuge and offered his skills in metalwork in exchange for food and shelter. In this new village, Ona found a sense of belonging that had eluded him for so long. He worked hard, earning the respect and friendship of the villagers. His hands, once accustomed to the delicate tasks of royalty, became strong and calloused from the labor of the forge. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Back in Okada, the king and his new queen were oblivious to the consequences of Ona's departure. At first, life in the kingdom continued as usual. The markets bustled, the fields yielded their crops, and the people went about their daily lives. But gradually, signs of trouble began to emerge. Crops that had once flourished began to wither and die. The rivers, which had always provided abundant fish, started to dry up. The once vibrant markets became desolate, as traders found it increasingly difficult to procure goods. Illness spread through the village, and the people, who had always lived in harmony, now faced famine, disease, and despair. The mysterious staff, deprived of its chosen keeper, lost its power. Its glow dimmed, and the blessings it had bestowed upon the land began to fade. The villagers, who had always revered the staff as a symbol of divine favor, now saw it as a harbinger of doom. King Nwosu, desperate to restore the kingdom's former glory, sought counsel from his advisors and the village seer. They performed sacrifices, rituals, and prayers, but nothing seemed to alleviate the suffering. The king, once revered, now faced growing discontent and unrest among his people. One evening, as the king sat in his chamber, the village seer, an old and wise woman named Nneka, approached him. Her eyes, clouded with visions of the past and future, held the key to the kingdom's salvation. She had been having troubling dreams, visions of the land withering and the people suffering. "Your Majesty," Nneka began, her voice trembling with urgency, "the gods have spoken to me. They have revealed the cause of our plight and the path to our salvation." King Nwosu, his face etched with worry, leaned forward. "Speak, wise one. What must we do to save our kingdom?" "Ona, your son, is the chosen one," she proclaimed. "The gods have destined him to wield the mysterious staff. Without him, the staff's power is lost, and the kingdom will continue to suffer. You must find him and bring him back, for only then will Okada's prosperity be restored." The king, stricken with guilt and desperation, realized the grave mistake he had made. He had allowed his own prejudices and the manipulations of his new queen to drive away the one person who could save their land. Determined to make amends, he ordered his men to search for Ona. The king's emissaries set out immediately, scouring neighboring villages and beyond for any sign of the young prince. They carried with them a portrait of honor and a promise of a generous reward for anyone who could provide information about his whereabouts. The search was arduous and time-consuming, but the king's men were determined to find the prince. Meanwhile, Honor continued to live peacefully in his new village. He had become an integral part of the community, known for his kindness, hard work, and skill as a blacksmith. The villagers, unaware of his true identity, valued him as one of their own. One day, as Honor walked in the forge, a group of strangers arrived in the village. They carried with them the portrait of a young man, and the villagers quickly recognized Honor's face. The strangers, realizing they had found the prince, approached him with reverence and urgency. "Prince Honor," they pleaded, "your father, the king, implores you to return to Okada. The kingdom is in grave peril, and only you can save it." Honor, taken aback by their words, felt a mixture of emotions. He had found peace and purpose in this village, but he could not ignore the plight of his people. After much contemplation and with a heavy heart, he agreed to return to Okada. As Honor journeyed back to his homeland, he was accompanied by the king's emissaries. The path was long and arduous, but Honor's determination to save his people kept him going. Along the way, he thought about the village he had left behind and the people who had welcomed him as one of their own. He also reflected on his childhood in the palace, the love he had felt from his mother, and the pain of his father's indifference. The journey gave him time to process the emotions that had been buried deep within him. He realized that he had been running from his destiny, but now he had the chance to embrace it fully. He also understood that forgiveness and compassion were powerful forces that could heal not only himself but also the kingdom. When they finally arrived in Okada, the news of Honor's return spread quickly. The villagers, hopeful and desperate for salvation, gathered to witness the prince's homecoming. King Nwosu, humbled and remorseful, awaited his son at the palace gates. As Honor entered the kingdom, a sense of anticipation and relief washed over the crowd. The once proud king, now a broken man, stood before his son, tears streaming down his face. He fell to his knees, a gesture of humility and remorse. "Honor, my son," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion, "forgive me. I was blind to your worth and the pain I caused you." Honor, moved by his father's genuine remorse, reached out and lifted him to his feet. "Father, I forgive you. Let us put the past behind us and work together to restore our kingdom." The villagers cheered, their spirits lifted by the promise of a better future. Queen Adanna, seeing the bond between father and son, also approached Honor with tears in her eyes. "Honor, I am sorry for the pain I caused you. Please forgive me." Honor, with a heart full of compassion, embraced her as well. "Let us all move forward together, united in our love for this land and its people." With Honor's return, the mysterious staff regained its power. The once barren lands began to flourish again, rivers flowed, and the people regained their health and prosperity. The staff glowed brightly in Honor's hands, a sign that the gods had restored their favor upon Okada. Honor was officially recognized as the true heir and guardian of the staff. The villagers, who had always revered the staff as a symbol of divine favor, now saw it as a beacon of hope. Under Honor's guidance, the kingdom began to rebuild. He worked tirelessly, alongside his father and the villagers, to restore the fields, repair the infrastructure, and revitalize trade. The prince's leadership style was markedly different from his father's. He ruled with compassion, fairness, and an unwavering commitment to justice. He listened to the concerns of the people, involved them in decision-making processes, and implemented policies that promoted equality and sustainability. King Nwosu, seeing the wisdom and dedication of his son, felt a deep sense of pride. He realized that Honor was not only the rightful heir but also a leader who could take Okada to new heights. With a renewed sense of purpose, the king supported his son in every way he could, ensuring that the transition of power was smooth and harmonious. To celebrate Ona's return and the restoration of the kingdom, King Nwosu and Queen Adanna organized a grand celebration. The village square was adorned with colorful banners and decorations, and the air was filled with the sounds of drumming, singing, and laughter. People from neighboring villages were invited to join in the festivities, and the atmosphere was one of joy and unity. The celebration began with a procession led by the royal family. Ona, carrying the mysterious staff, walked at the forefront, followed by his father, stepmother, and siblings. The villagers lined the streets, cheering and throwing flower petals as the procession passed by. At the central square, a grand stage had been set up. King Nwosu addressed the crowd, his voice filled with gratitude and hope. People of Okada, today we celebrate the return of my son, Prince Ona, and the restoration of our beloved kingdom. Let us never forget the lessons we have learned and the strength we have found in unity and compassion. Together, we will continue to build a prosperous and harmonious future. Ona, now fully embracing his role as the future king, stepped forward to speak. I am humbled by your love and support. Our journey has been challenging, but we have emerged stronger and more united. As your future king, I vow to serve you with integrity, wisdom, and compassion. Together, we will ensure that Okada remains a beacon of prosperity and peace. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, their hearts filled with hope and pride. The festivities continued late into the night, with feasting, dancing, and storytelling. The villagers, young and old, came together to celebrate their shared heritage and the promise of a brighter future. As the years passed, Ona's leadership transformed Okada into a model of prosperity and harmony. The kingdom became known for its innovative farming techniques, thriving markets, and vibrant cultural traditions. The people of Okada, inspired by their leader's vision and dedication, worked together to create a society that valued equality, justice, and sustainability. The mysterious staff, a symbol of the god's favor and the kingdom's strength, continued to be passed down through generations. Each king, chosen for their wisdom and integrity, upheld the sacred trust and ensured that the staff's power was used for the greater good. The tale of Ona and the mysterious staff became a cherished legend in Okada, passed down from one generation to the next. It was a story of resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring power of the god's blessings. The villagers would gather around the fire on cool evenings, listening to the elders recount the story of the young prince who saved his kingdom and brought prosperity to the land. In honor of Ona's legacy, a grand monument was erected in the central square. It depicted Ona holding the mysterious staff, his face radiating wisdom and strength. The monument served as a reminder of the importance of compassion, unity, and the unbreakable bond between the people and their land. So, the story of Ona and the mysterious staff continued to inspire generations. It was a story of resilience, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond between the people of Okada and their land. The kingdom flourished under the guidance of its wise leaders, and the blessings of the gods remain ever present, ensuring a future of prosperity, peace, and harmony for all.